Harry Smith, known as the Harlem Thunderbolt. He was born October 28, 1907, in Jamaica, British West Indies. He died September 19, 1933, in Chicago, Illinois. Now, Harry Smith stood 6 foot, weighed 158 to 176 pounds. He was managed by Dave Brown. And he would become the colored middleweight champion of the world when he defeated Jack McVey, who was known as the Pride of Harlem. Jack McVey's name was Julius Williams. And Harlem was looking forward to that fight. And when that fight was over, Harry Smith was the colored middleweight champion of the world. Some story. Because Harry Smith's dad was a real estate mogul. He owned a taxi and limousine company. Brought that business over from Jamaica. And he would reestablish himself for his family as a wealthy young man. Now, Harry Smith had a record of 65-0 and 50 knockouts as an amateur. He would defeat them all. Homer Robinson and many others. Now, the world middleweight champion at that time was the toy bulldog, Mickey Walker. He had just defeated, not too long ago, Tiger Flowers, the Georgia Deacon, who, by the way, Harry Smith had his eyes on since he was an amateur. But when Mickey Walker became the middleweight champion, Harry Smith kept his eyes on the prize. And unfortunately for Harry Smith, Mickey Walker would give up that title to move up to the light heavyweight division. You see, the problem Mickey Walker would have, he would have a clause in his contract that after he became middleweight champion and defeating Tiger Flowers, he would never give a black fighter an opportunity at that title. But the issue he had, I'm speaking of Mickey Walker. You had Harry Smith, Gorilla Jones, and Len Johnson, 3 black fighters who was in the top 5. He was forced to fight him. And Mickey Walker couldn't get around fighting Harry Smith. So he would move out of the division. He figured it would be more money that can be made for him. But the other reason was because of the clause in his contract that he would never face a black fighter once he became middleweight champion. So once the toy bulldog Mickey Walker would leave the division, the title would become vacated. And there would be a tournament that unfortunately for Harry Smith, Dave Brown wouldn't sign him up for. This was 1931. But Harry Smith could have possibly became the world middleweight champion, have given the opportunity. The Harlem Thunderbolt, Harry Smith, my 4th favorite middleweight champion of all times. Julius Williams. His name was Jack McVey. He was born June 8, 1905, Atkins, Georgia. He would die October 29, 1975, in Harlem, New York. Now, Julius Williams stood 5 foot 9 inches, weighed 147 pounds, and he was managed by Maurice Kane. he would become the colored middleweight champion of the world. And Jack McVey was known and respected in Harlem. When Harry Smith was said to be facing Jack McVey, it was like the World Series came in the neighborhood. You see, there was a time when you would have world championship fights on your block. You didn't need the Jack Dempseys. You didn't need the John O'Sullivans. You didn't need the Benny Leonards, because Benny Leonard, within his own community, was a world champion. You see, during those days, the locals, the men that you saw in your grocery store every day, they were idols. You would see their pictures hang up in the barbershops. And just to shake their hand, you wouldn't wash your hand for a week. That's how it was in Harlem as well. Jack McVey fit that mold. And that's why it was exciting for Harry Smith to get that shot. Jack McVey, outstanding fighter. So Harry Smith, the Harlem Thunderbolt, and Jack McVey, the pride of Harlem, be added to the list. 100 years, 150 greatest black fighters of all times. And those two men are part of the second wave of Black Murderers Row. Now, we talked about William Ward, Kid Norfolk, many times. He was born July 10th, 1893, in Norfolk, Virginia. He died April 15th, 1969 in New York, Harlem, New York. He stood 5 foot 10 inches, weighed 165 to 183 pounds. And he would be managed by Leo P. Flynn. And the reason why I'm bringing up Kid Norfolk, he also was part of the second wave of Black Murderers Row. And he would be the colored middleweight champion twice. He would take on Lee Anderson. Now, this division was developed in 1930. It was actually developed for Kid Norfolk. The Kid Norfolk would be in a ring with Harry Greb, 1921. Fought him twice, as a matter of fact. And Kid Norfolk would be credited for mistakenly damaging the eye of Harry Greb. But before that fight would take place, Lee Anderson would be credited for damaging the eye of Kid Norfolk. Amazing story. But William Ward, Kid Norfolk, would also be listed 100 years, the greatest 150 black fighters of all times. Leo Johnson, 1915. Now, Leo Johnson would be the lightweight AEF world champion. He was on the same team, 1918,